requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. We have one member participating remotely, Richard Bursch, so all votes tonight will be via roll call. First order is to take attendance. Richard Bursch.
Present.
I'm Todd Dwyer, I'm here today. Bob Pease.
Present.
Katie Childs.
Present.
Carl Luck.
Here.
Jack Rabbit.
Here.
Ken Jones.
Yes.
And our associate member, Jeff Viviano, is absent. Any announcements from the commission?
If I could, Matt,
Yes,
you
Jack.
sent out some information from the Boston Wetlands ordinance changes on the, that MAC brochure. And I think that what I saw very quickly, it looked like they were attempting to address the whole issue of stormwater. And could we spend a little bit of time in some future session, just go over and see what Boston did? Because I believe they shifted the buffer zones out, and they started addressing the issue with regard to changing drainage patterns and things beyond our 100-foot jurisdiction. So I would like to have some time to discuss and explore that, if we could.
Well, we got a lighter agenda next month, next meeting, the 5th of February, I can put it on for that.
Yeah, that would make sense, because, we are wrestling with that, and so let's find out what Boston did.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Any other announcements from the commission? Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, just to clarify that, in the city of Boston, under the Rivers Protection Act, and it's not the buffer zone, it's the riverfront zone is only 25 feet, where in most all other communities it's 200 feet. So Boston is looking to expand their riverfront in the name of climate resiliency.
Right.
So they are definitely hampered as it is under the state code, and they're looking to expand their protections of the riverfront.
Right. And I may be wrong, Rich, but in that piece, they also talked about expanding their abutters out 300 feet.
For notifications?
Notification and any activity that seemed to be happening within that 300-foot area. So I'd just like to have a better understanding of that and see what they were able to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Very good. Any other announcements from the commission? Are there any announcements or comments from the public? Seeing none, we're going to switch up our agenda a little bit, and we're going to move to enforcement, and we're going to talk about 164 Page Street. We have someone representing 164 Page Street?
That would be me. I'm good. We're going to,
Good, why don't you sit down here, give us your name and address, sir?
Kevin Felton, 164 Page Street.
Yep.
On that location, I'm just going to remove it.
And that's the Conex box?
Yeah, as far as time frame, it depends on weather a little bit, like if it's frozen, but
Sure.
it's not a big deal. And
Are you going to take it right off the property, or?
actually, I am.
Yeah.
Because we met over there and there's no good spot for it.
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense to
Put it anywhere.
go any further, and I'll remove it off the property.
So
It's already in the works, it's just a matter of, we had too much snow and too much melting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm all good. I'm gonna move it right off the property.
Okay, by May, Kevin? Is that,
That's perfectly fine.
okay.
We should get some freezing here and I'll get it out.
Okay, so as soon as it's out, if you can contact our agent to let him know it's been removed, so we can come down and check.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we'll anticipate that, based on the weather, early spring, by around May timeframe. If we don't expect a call, we'll probably give you a friendly call, have Matt give you a call and say, hey, what's going on, if it slips your mind. Very good. Thank you.
I'm going to see you later.
We have an appointment for a field change at 72 Hemlock Drive.
Miles Henkin, homeowner. Did you guys request this, or was it Brett that wanted to talk about the trees?
I'm not sure, actually.
Essentially, what had happened was, when you guys had issued the motion for the order of conditions, one of the things that was agreed to was that the two trees close to the house, the two hemlocks that were removed, would be replanted.
Yep.
However, it wasn't included in the motion and the vote. So I asked Mr. Ramsden, the homeowner's here in his stead, to come to the commission to talk about planting, or where they're going to be planted.
Okay.
So we could approve that as a field change.
So, Matt, do you have the diameter of the trees, so we can,
Do our calculation.
Here was the original plan.
yep,
These are the trees that were removed.
yep. So two 12-inch hemlocks were removed? Okay.
Yeah, you obviously not able to put them too over, but
Right.
Mr. Chairman, the current regulation is for 12 inches, two for one, so it'd be four.
Okay. So,
4-inch trees?
No, four trees. It's not clear on the diameter.
yeah, so four trees, they can be, if it's, could be saplings.
The only other thing we want to do is get them on the print, because they need to eventually replace the shading of the lakes is one of the big things. The support the bank and shade the lake, so they can't be in the backyard, I think they gotta be fairly close to the lake.
Yeah. Yeah, we have no problem replacing, we just wanted to clarify how big they need to be planted, because once he finishes his work, there's no way I can get a large tree.
Sure.
Yeah. That's probably new.
That's why I gave you the Sharpie. I figured you guys could,
Sure.
dot the location, and he could sign the plan.
So, at this time, if you could mark up the plan with the Sharpie, where you think you may want to put four trees.
Okay.
Generally, in your backyard area, it's your yard, so we'd like you to mark it up.
And would you like to take, Mr. Chairman, if we could offer him a chance, I know that you've got a partner
Yeah.
who would potentially, might have more of an interest in
Fair.
terms of keeping marital harmony going and things like that. I think he could come back, as long as we're agreeable, we're going to get four trees.
If he wants to come back. Do you want to come back, or do you want to,
I'm okay coming back, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I think as long as we agree, we're gonna replace the trees, we just gotta identify the location. I have
so
no
maybe he
problem
could
with
take the plan.
Sure.
Take it.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sign it, date it, where the trees are gonna go.
Yeah, I have extra copies, so go ahead.
Yeah.
So then on the next meeting, we'll keep this on the agenda, and the next meeting, we can just approve it as a field change. And as long as he has a signed and dated copy of the plan, you don't need to come back.
Our next meeting is February 5th. It'll be across the street where my office is down in the conference room. What I suggest you do is the week before. So that would be, let me give you an exact date here. So on the 28th of February, which should be that Tuesday, the Tuesday before, if you could bring me the plan marked up as to where you guys want to put it, so I can scan it and send it to the commission to review before the meeting, give them plenty of time. Because we'll probably go back out on the 1st of February, which is that Saturday, because we'll be doing inspections before the meeting.
Okay.
So we'll go back out on the 1st of February just to look at where the locations are, because, the terrain's changed, because
Yeah.
Brett's working on it. He's doing a nice job, by the way.
Yes, yeah. So tell me the date again of.
28th of January.
28th of January, okay. That's not a problem. So just mark this up, sign it, bring it back to Matt,
Sign it and date it.
sign it, date it, okay?
Yep. Commissioners were out on your project this weekend to review the construction, and it looked fantastic. Brett's doing a good job. He had been working diligently in the good weather on the lower wall. I'm sure he's made some good progress this week.
Looking good.
Okay. Good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Okay.
Can you guys motion to February 5th?
I would make a motion that we continue the field change
Appointment?
discussion appointment to February 5th at the Ritter Building
472 Hemlock Drive.
for 72 Hemlock Drive.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call vote, Rich Birch.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Carl. Ken Jones.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
Kenny Childs.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We'll open our next hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Lunenburg Wetlands Bylaw and regulations as listed in Chapter 239. Bill and Jane Hudson have filed a notice of intent for the replacement of a septic system and the cutting and replanting of trees within the 100-foot buffer zone at 90 Hemlock Drive.
Todd, filing the planner in front of you.
Yep, thank you.
Industrial, environmental?
Good evening.
Hi there. You folks have probably received a more recent plan from Doug Smith.
Doug Smith's plan here, I don't see, revised December 12th is the copy we have.
And it should say, your plan should not have a garage on it.
It should not have a garage.
It said proposed garage, and I said,
Yeah,
send it to them and not send it to me, and I just crossed it out.
Ours has proposed garage on it.
Oh, it should not have a garage.
It should not, okay.
There's no garage.
Okay.
We'll come back before you
Yeah.
with proposed building changes.
Okay.
So currently, there's a septic repair. The current system is within 20 feet. There's a tanks here, the system's back here somewhere. It's in failure, so the system's going to be placed some 70 feet, I think it is, from...
It's 70 feet, yeah.
from...
This is an old, one of the original plans.
Yes.
So the actual tank is here.
Yep.
20 feet from the water.
Sure.
And then the leach field is actually here.
Yeah, so a number of us were out on site
Yeah.
over the weekend, and it appears that you have quite a few dead trees on the property that need to come down.
The property was neglected for the past 30 years. There's actual storm damage, if you actually look way up. Yeah, there's a lot of dead stuff. I mean, you could just push over, there's holes in some of
In some
them,
trees.
multiple that are over the house. And then obviously the line.
You know, some of the tall pines you had marked are actually split at the top.
There's the one behind where that shed is, that's got 2 lightning strikes on it.
Yeah, you could see the scars from the lightning strikes.
And then around the point there, and we had some marked, and we're actually looking to clean that back out. If you notice the fireplace there, it's gonna be taken down, but that area used to all be clear. All of those laurel are dying. If you look at the bottoms of them, they're all white because they never removed leaves or anything.
No sun.
There's no sun, and we had like 2 inches of moss all around too, but we'd like to replant. I don't know whether it be laurel or whatever, because we're very much into protecting that shoreline.
Sure.
So we've already relocated 23 arborvitaes and 3 maple trees down there. But we plan on adding more, so I know it looks like a lot of trees to be removed. Some of them are damaging the driveway, some of them are just too close, or they'd fall on the house, you know, whatever we do would be ruined, but, so my point was that we plan on planting a lot more.
Okay.
Go through grass.
Sure.
There's nothing.
Right now, nothing can grow on that dirt. I don't know if you've got a chance to look at it, but
With no snow.
Well, the folks we had out there, I know the folks on site had some comments that they wanted to bring up here.
Okay.
So I'm going to open it to the commissioners for questions.
Well, the first one...
Comments?
I'm sorry, Mr.
Go ahead.
Okay, you're taking the garage off, that helped us. You did have a pile of mountain laurel that it would look like might have been marked for removal. That's just as you're coming down the driveway on the right-hand side? Were those?
No.
No?
There's only one clump, and actually, these were just some of the trees
Okay.
that I marked in red that were dead. And there's a dock.
Right.
That's been there. So there's a clump of small stuff.
To clarify, when we were on site, we assumed that all the trees that had flagging on them, they were designated for removal.
Yes.
Okay, good,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
But I don't think any.
There's no mountain.
No, on the side?
But
Okay.
some of the mountain laurel are actually dying because
Right.
they can't.
But no, there was no,
This was, they were
We
sitting,
like to replace them.
where's the driveway here?
so this is the
Yeah.
going in.
They were sitting right in here, for some reason, but you know what? I think we were thinking that the garage was gonna take out part of that, so that's not it.
Yeah.
So-
There's surveyors.
So I think,
Yeah, not at this time.
You have-
There is surveyor blue tabs, not the orange.
on your plan, you have a group of 4 trees just on the right, well, if north is up, or on the left-hand side of your driveway.
Yep.
And then you had 2 trees closer to the water.
Yes.
Those 2 trees, from our view, it didn't look, we couldn't discern why the trees close to the water were coming down. I think the mountain laurel that Jack's referring to was between those 2 trees and that group of 4 that was slated to come down. The group of-
Understand.
Okay, the group of 4, we thought, that made sense if the garage eventually is gonna go there. That'll be that'll be a hazard.
Yes.
Because we're gonna have to back out somewhere so that we
Yeah.
can go the driveway the right way.
We're in the process
These,
of.
we don't have a problem with leaving. I mean, it would have been nice to get rid of pines because the needles kill everything. We would have replanted another tree and just stumped it and not removed the roots. But if that bothers the commission, I mean, we're willing to,
This
I just hope it doesn't
this
fall
corner
into
right
the
here,
house at some point.
Yes,
we've already hand
pruned?
25 yards of stuff.
Really?
Mud,
Sure.
Yeah, from the
That's a
shore.
hard-
dead stuff
job.
in
Yeah,
the shore.
it's, yeah.
You
And,
just draw it down?
yeah,
Just
Yeah.
take it to rake it out?
We want to
my arms,
remove
my arms
it.
killing
Oh,
me.
yeah, it's a beautiful spot, it
Yeah.
really,
So-
really is.
We've been looking at it, we live 3 houses away off the water.
I think one of the things that may be helpful to the commission is, most of the trees out there, I mean, that were marked were fine, but I think one of the things that would help us in conjunction with the plan for removal would be a plan for replanting and what you're planting. I think that would help us a lot, especially, we can provide the guidelines, because we've recently come up with guidelines on, if you take a 4-inch tree versus a 24-inch tree, we'd like a higher replacement ratio.
Sure.
Because those trees provide so much canopy, the large trees.
Correct,
So do you think that's something that we could develop as, just another sheet with
It's hard to know what we want until we get down there and start. I mean, can we agree to us replanting a certain number of trees? And then decide on the
We've done that in the past. We've had a schedule of, okay, we know we're taking these down, and here's what we're gonna do, and here's the general areas. You can kind of, give us general areas where you anticipate that the replanting will
Well, I
occur.
can tell you right now where it would be, since I'm probably the one to. We plan on replanting quite a bit around here. Because
So around the point.
yes, on the outside, if I can get through the laurel that are very lanky and they're just dying. If I can, I don't want to remove them. I want to try to just put things either in between them or whatever, but the problem is, all the leaves that fell down and the decay that wasn't removed for 30-plus years, the ground is very soft and it's very rooty, because everything was just suppressed in it.
Sure.
But I would like to plant some around here. I would like to replant some, like, right around here. And we're probably, our neighbors are very nice, we don't want to block them out completely. So, but we were planning on planting a few arborvitaes on the side here as well. So we don't want to plant anything too tall up here because the sun comes this way.
Yeah.
And we want to give the property more light. We'd like to have the ability possibly to put solar eventually.
Sure. So you want to try and open up the I guess, the eastern side of,
And that was one of the reasons why
I
we had
understand.
those, but if we want to play nice, so.
Yeah, no, I-
You know,
If you had walked the edge, all the trees are facing.
Sure, they're coming over the water to
They're
get the
going over the
sunlight.
water to try to get the sun.
Yeah.
Right, right.
In there,
Right.
all the way around.
And they're also, the thing is, when they reach over like that, they cool the water, and the fish love it. So,
Well, not right there, they don't.
okay.
Maybe when the
Well, it's all
out, they will.
So, Mr. Chairman, could I?
Yes, Judge.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
There were a lot of trees that we had even questions about, and I'm not sure which one of these. Matt, would it make sense for you to go in there and make a jurisdictional call on some of these things? Because there were some questions that we had on a few of them. Are they really that gone? Do they really need to come out? And honestly, I don't know about the rest of you, but eventually I get kind of confused in terms of, I can't take the tags off it, so, So, Matt, could you,
Hang another tag around it and say, and just,
yeah, if Matt could go on, we could move, go ahead, I'm sorry, I'm jumping.
That's fine.
Carl, you had a comment.
Yeah, just looking at this one you just gave, it seems to make a lot more sense. There's 6 trees or something here. But what we saw was, I don't know, 20 trees with ribbons.
No, those are just dead trees.
So
Those
these
are actual dead ones.
So, but that's sort of the discussion here. If that's the dead ones, there's 10 or more that are not dead.
Right.
They got ribbons around them, and those are the ones
Right.
that we're sort of questioning.
The one out by the road, on the right side of the driveway is because of the septic. That is
So the leach, so there's a clump of 4 right here.
Right.
So that's,
and the
I
machine
mean,
and grading.
it's the same thing here, and as the pipes come up
Yeah,
and
So-
down.
you're outside of 30 foot.
As you can, on this plan, we have some circles on here, and I think some of these circles represent when we were out on site.
So
We did
these-
little circles for stuff that were healthy and didn't necessarily need to come down, but I think in our discussion here, we kind of understand your reasoning, why you may want to take them down.
Yeah, so the clump here is to utilize this.
Bob, go ahead.
What would help me is, like, if we had a plan that showed, these are the trees we want to come down, and,
That's what it's at, those are-
and,
yeah.
and this is what we want to put in its stead. It sounds like you're interested in maintaining vegetation, but you want different vegetation than what's there now.
yes.
So I guess my question to clarify, is every tree shown on this plan slated for removal?
Yes,
Okay.
because some of them are dead, some of them are in.
No,
Septic.
that's fine. So if we know that all the plans currently shown here are slated for removal, then I think for me to move forward to vote for an approval, I need to understand better what sort of a replanting scheme you're gonna have.
That's fine.
And I think every commissioner will be able to evaluate. Doesn't mean we're all gonna accept it. We may wanna keep some that you have slated on the side, maybe you wanna keep a few of those, but I think that's the key that we need to see, maybe, take this plan and then, you can
Do we
come
have
up
to
with
know,
it.
like, the style of what tree?
No, you can
You
give us
just need
general
to
areas
compare.
for the density that we're gonna see for replacement, so
You want no species of trees, or?
if you have an idea of,
Well, they have to.
so if you go, okay, 25% of these are gonna be oak and 25% are gonna be, whatever,
Yeah,
right.
We already have 26 trees down there right now. I don't know if this
Put
has.
them in and heal them in.
Okay.
These
Yeah.
are
Yep.
the reasons why we're looking to do it. And
So 23 arborvitaes and 3 maple trees.
have 4,
So when you went in the driveway, whoever went in right to the left,
So-
there was 23
Right,
put there,
so,
about this high right
Just so that we
But
can
just-
keep them alive and then
So-
replant them after all the work.
right now, so that's 26 trees. We're probably close to a 1-to-1 ratio based on the plan.
Yeah.
Based on the size of some of those trees and our current regulations, our replacement ratio is a little higher than that. Some of them are 2-to-1, some are 3-to-1.
That's fine, we have no problem with that.
So if you're looking at the ones that are alive anyway,
Yeah.
Yes, Carl?
they're not dying.
I agree with you, we really need to roughly where they're gonna go. You may fine-tune, but, you know, where they're gonna go. But I don't think arborvitae's
Well, we're
are
not
the
final
equivalent
yet, so
replacement
the next
for
hearing-
substantial trees.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay, so because there's 23 arborvitae's and 3 maples for some
Right.
20-odd trees, that's not the right direction, I don't think.
I assume an order of conditions is going to be issued. Can it state the number of trees that we need to be replanted, and then we can determine, and we can tell you they're gonna be around the point and on either side of the driveway?
Well, it's kind of doing it backwards. It needs to be determined first and written into the order.
So you guys can contact Matt, and he can give you the section of our regulations that addresses replanting, and then you guys can figure out, okay, we have 10 trees that are over 20 inches in diameter, and we have, 10 that are between, 12 and 24 inches, and a bunch that are less than that, and then based on that list, you can look at the regulations and figure out how many you need to replant.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, your idea before, I think if you go back to the beginning of, should every tree that's marked come down? I think we have to revisit that, and I think having Matt go down, and I would like to go down with him and understand which trees, and maybe there won't be many, maybe there'll be two or three that, those
Well, we've
will
already
stay.
agreed on 2.
Yeah, so if we did that, and then we would know which ones at least to bring back as a recommendation are coming down, then you can go through the equations and say, okay, this is the number, and then of what diameter, and while we're down there, we could probably check the diameter, so we just take one more step and know which ones are what diameter, so we go to the little equation and say, okay, 8 to 12 is this many, and come up with the answer.
Yeah, so I agree. I think it takes a little work on your part, and we're gonna need another site walk to sure, with that updated plan, so we can then have a quick meeting on the next one to come to a consensus of what needs to be done, and
I don't give the DEP number anyway.
No, we
Okay.
we don't have it forward, so, yeah.
okay, Jack?
We gotta
Mr.
continue it
Chairman,
anyway.
we might note that the board has maintained a policy that clearly within any trees within 30 feet with any kind of a slope, the roots stay, so you just cut off at ground level? Okay.
Well, on some of these that we're not,
Well, if you're doing an excavation because you're pulling a tank.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
yeah. So certain ones, other ones, we don't have a problem.
Yeah. Your tank.
Or you're placing a tank.
The
So you-
tank is right here.
You have a new septic tank and D-box,
Yeah.
or a pump
It's a
chamber.
pump up.
Yeah.
So it comes
I think it
from,
would
Yeah,
probably
no
also
problem
be
with that.
easier when I'm down there looking at the trees that can remain, seeing as there's few of them that could remain compared to what needs to come out. It'd probably be easier if I demarcated the ones that were gonna remain, and we could mark those on the plans.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's a lot easier.
because we tried to mark them,
I like that
That's a good
idea.
idea.
I like that
Then
fine.
everybody can see it, right, on paper, which one's
Right,
staying.
which one's staying?
Right, because you only have a few that are gonna stay.
Yeah.
Mark those, because it would be a lot, I think it would be a lot easier. It's
Yeah.
like,
mark them with a different color.
And the field, and then over here, you could, color, highlight them in yellow.
Yeah, we can mark them.
Or the ones that could have the potential to say, you just throw another color ribbon on it, so everyone
Yeah.
knows,
well, I
okay.
got some really bright pink, glow-in-the-dark type flagging, you could just throw around the trees and
That we're keeping.
write on it, and
Yeah.
tree to stay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, guys set up a date and...
So, I guess the next question is, do you think you could have that ready? Is it the February, what's the?
February 5th.
The February 5th meeting? Do you think we could be, so have about a week and a half to,
I'll be in Florida, so...
Yeah, well, we're supposed to be in
You guys-
Florida. Well,
Mary Ann,
head actually.
excuse me, guys.
We're driving down to see family.
Mary Ann,
Yes,
when are you leaving for Florida?
27th.
The 27th.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
can we do that before the 27th? Because I'd like you to be
Sure,
there.
okay.
okay, good.
We
So do
can
we
mark
have to get
everything
another
right away
meeting
or,
of the board?
and get it.
We'd like you at the next meeting, either you or Mary Ann.
I'm coming back on the 4th, so I can be here on the 5th.
Oh, okay, yeah, so,
I'll be back on the 4th.
Continue to
So I'll be at the
right.
meeting.
Yeah, we'll go further out. When do you want to do the work?
And,
We want to get our tree.
Like to have the
He's
tree
got
work
3 to
done,
4
because he's a
weeks.
month out.
Oh, sure.
That's why.
Mark,
we're-
yeah.
So it's, we can continue to February 5th, or we can continue to, I guess that's February 19th?
And then the 5th would be
The 5th would be better.
We'll just have to stick around.
Okay. Then, I think we have,
She can represent you.
I can represent you.
Yeah.
so I think we have, a-
Marion, I'm just gonna tentatively pencil in Friday the 24th,
Okay.
because I know Fridays are usually easier.
Fridays are easy, yeah.
Just let the two of us firm up a time later.
I'll put my phone, but-
so,
Meet with anybody whenever you
so with your permission, we'll accept a motion to continue to the February 5th meeting.
Actually, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Rich?
I have a couple quick questions on the plan, and I may have an older version of it, but I don't happen to see any erosion protection.
What plan, or what's the date of your plan? I have one revised December 12th that does have erosion protection on it.
I don't see any either.
Yeah, that's the one I have, and I guess I don't quite, I see a stone wall.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right, that's a stone wall.
Plan for that.
You're right.
So
it's not
we
on the
have an existing tank to be removed, which I imagine is going to be excavated. We should probably have some erosion protection temporarily around that.
Yep.
I don't see any erosion protection around the installation of the tanks, which are, looks like they're looking for a variance for those inside the 30-foot no disturbance zone. Is that correct?
It's been approved thus far from the Board of Health.
So you need a variance from us to be able to install those within the 30-foot no-touch zone.
Well,
Yeah.
so we're also having the property surveyed. From Ross, so. We get a stamp plan.
And the other thing I was looking at, so in the vicinity of the proposed tanks, I don't really see any final grading. The tanks themselves look like they're gonna be at 93 and a half, 94, somewhere around there covered. And you've got the 96 elevation on one side and the 95 elevation on the other, but then it seems to drop off pretty quickly.
There's a hole there.
No. On the top side,
These, where the tanks are,
So where these are being buried, are you going to generally keep the,
that's grade, or is it?
somewhat.
any changes that you have in there in the vicinity of the tank need to be shown on the plan so we can understand the changes to grade?
So the asphalt is all the way around. Get rid of it.
We just need to know how you're going to modify the grades around the house.
Well, at that point, it would just be that side.
Did you have any other observations, Rich?
No, those were the two big ones. You guys definitely went over most of my tree concerns. But just in looking, like I say, no erosion protection, should be some final grading around the tanks. I do see some final grade lines up around the leach field itself, which makes sense.
Yep.
But it looks fairly steep there, and I'm not sure if that construction and putting the tanks in is gonna affect the shed at all,
No.
because it only looks like it's 4 or 5 feet off of that shed.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight area from,
The tank that would be coming out is probably more, closer than actually where the tanks are gonna go, because they're gonna come back a little
Towards the
bit.
driveway more.
right. So I guess what Rich is saying is that the excavation for the proposed tank and pump, chamber, that's not going to influence the existing shed. You'll be able to install it without disturbing the shed.
Correct.
Okay.
You mentioned that you're gonna replace the wall, is that what you're
We would
thinking?
remove it.
Just totally remove it?
All around the house is a lot of concrete, there's a big concrete skirt. And it
And
takes up
asphalt.
a great deal, and asphalt, there's a pad, so when we come before you for the house
Okay,
and garage, hopefully, we were going to tell you how we were going to remove all of that. So what we plan on going on top of is not any more making it unpermeable than it is now. We're actually gonna remove all that.
But that's going to be included as part of another plan.
Part of
Okay.
another plan.
So, for this application, we're going to assume generally that whatever's impervious out there around the house is going to remain intact.
Except on this side, right, next to the house, on this
Yeah.
side where the tank's gonna go, we'll take that out now.
So if you're gonna take that out now, if you just note on the plan that, remove asphalt, replace with whatever you replace, whether it's, gravel, dirt, whatever you're gonna do.
And anytime you remove impervious surface, it's good if you could just throw an estimate on there, like how much square footage.
I already have that.
Because removing impervious,
That's good.
surface is a good thing, and it's always good to quantify the good things.
Yeah.
Because we always quantify the things we have problems with, so.
It's 40 times 3, the 120 square feet.
Okay.
Very good. Any other comments from commissioners? Any other comments from the public?
Matt, when would you like to?
Would you want this? 24th.
The 24th? Okay.
Then I will accept a motion to continue this meeting to our next meeting on February 5th.
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second?
Roll call vote, Richard Birsch? Aye. Jack Rabbit?
Aye.
Ken Jones?
Aye.
Carla?
Aye.
Kenny Childs?
Aye.
Bob Pease?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We'll see you on the 5th. Thank you very much.
Bill, do you have deer in your neighborhood? Do you have deer up where you are?
Did we get an electronic
No,
on
that's
that?
wonderful deer food, they loved it, they cleaned me out 2 years ago. I don't
You got to do it all anyway, sure.
We have a-
I actually do that.
Okay, okay, so you're used to getting eaten.
Yep, I hear ya.
That's for sure.
I'm gonna have to send some of mine over to your neighborhood, mine are getting too hungry. On the other side by the Bertrams.
Correct.
See, I'm up at the Big Wood area, yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we took a couple of them.
There you go.
Thank you.
Take your money. Good night. Take your bill, bye-bye.
We'll open our next hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Lunenburg Wetlands Bylaw and regulations as listed in Chapter 239, Dan and Jean Proctor have filed a notice of intent for removal of earth and stormwater management within the 100-foot buffer zone at 1325 Mass Avenue.
Thank you very much. The applicant, Dan.
Can you give your name as well?
Yes, I can. My name is Frank McPartland with Ducharme-Dillis. I'm the engineer on the project, representing the applicant, Dan Proctor.
Welcome.
Thank you. So the existing site consists of about just under 6 acres of grass field with some woods around it. The perimeter, an existing single-family residence, and 2 existing stables. There are also 2 vegetated wetlands, one located slightly on the site, one located off-site that have buffers extending onto the property.
And so then, does that mean, Mr. Chairman, that the only part that's what is that dotted line? Is that the 50 foot, is that the 100 foot?
This dotted line is the 100, this one is the 50, and then the third 30 here. And the wetland, as I said, the southernmost wetland barely comes onto the property.
Yeah.
And then there's another more isolated one here that is completely off the property.
So then am I correct that the only area that's within our jurisdiction is this side of the saw?
This side of the
very
property.
western side of the
Correct,
site.
yes, the very western property line.
In the drainage that you'd be putting in.
Correct.
Yes.
Which will bring me to the proposed conditions plan. So what the applicant is proposing to do on this site is an earth removal project, removing approximately 50,000 cubic yards of material.
And the great little shed horse stall you got there. Two of them. We're saying, wonderful donation.
So, removing approximately 50,000 cubic yards of material, just kind of walking down the site,
So, can you relate the 50,000 cubic yards? It looks like one side of one side of the site is about 19 or 20 feet higher to the elevation you're going to cut to?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, so
then you're creating essentially a wedge of soil that you're taking out of that hillside.
Yes, yes, so, that's a good description. We'll be taking a wedge of soil out of the property. We'll be maintaining a 20-foot buffer along the outside of the property, sloping down at a 3-on-1 slope, and then creating a large, flatter swath at about a 1% slope before coming to a stormwater management area that we're going to construct along the western property line and within those buffer zones. That is to both handle runoff created by this disturbance as well as possible future development on the property.
So the western detention area, which is largely within the 100-foot buffer zone, is that generally going to be, are you hoping that the stormwater and runoff that you get in there largely infiltrates within that basin?
Yeah, so the outlet structure has been designed to infiltrate the two-year storm. Larger, more infrequent storms will discharge through the proposed outlet structure.
So a big storm, you get overflow, but your typical rainstorm will just infiltrate.
Typical rainstorm should come up to an elevation of a foot, 18 inches or so in the bottom of the basin and then infiltrate. During test pits that the client conducted, we did find sandy soils down towards the wetlands. Generally, I found it as you're chasing down towards the wetlands, that's where you run into stuff that keeps the water at the top of the ground, but not so much in this case. So we will be able to infiltrate in that small storm in the basin.
Within the cut area, especially towards the deeper cuts, do you come close to encountering bedrock anywhere, or is it all sand and gravel?
We did not have any bedrock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've done like a boring or something to figure that
We
out?
just did it with an excavator,
Yeah.
20-foot deep, type of thing. Yep.
The basin itself is designed, as I said, to handle future development of approximately 70,000 square feet of impervious area, and all located outside of the jurisdictional area. I propose 3 drainage inlets to the stormwater basin, as well as a kind of an interconnection bit here at the entrance to collect any runoff that may be running towards Mass Ave. So the intent there is, once the basin is built and these pipes are in, the basin will be stabilized and then only ever touched for maintenance. So if they come back through and put in some sort of development in this area, it'll be limited to that design 77,000 square feet of impervious, and the basin will be able to handle that. There won't be any new disturbances within the jurisdictional areas.
So for the area that is leveled out, what's the total area of the kind of the leveled surface within the cut area?
Areas, yeah. I have a 30 scale. So roughly 360 by 190.
Okay.
72,000.
Yeah.
3 acres.
Okay.
Absolutely. 3 acres of...
3 acres.
The level, about 3 acres.
3 acres that's gonna be leveled, or?
Yeah, so that level area is about 3 acres.
What's left? That a level area is about 3 acres.
Yeah, so it's approximately half the property.
Is the property are you subdividing the property, or is it just gonna stay one lot?
So at this point, it's gonna stay as one lot. I mean, ultimately, the game plan is probably to sell that as one house lot. Again, we didn't wanna obviously sell that one house lot and then a month later say, oh, by the way, we're getting a removal permit. That kind of thing. So it made more sense to do this first, try to do
That's the
everything. But ultimately, that's correct, yeah. We probably will sell that.
That'll be a conforming lot and everything.
That's correct, yeah.
So with this shows, again, is the 100-foot buffers. Much of the basin grading is located within that. Some is located within the 50. A small amount on this end. We don't get into the 30-foot buffer. Our grade grading stops short of that.
Okay.
That's where the soil erosion barrier will go, which I will flip to in just a second.
So on your plan there, I'm sorry.
No problem.
On your plan there, you have this green, is that your tree line along the?
This green, yes, is the final tree line.
Okay, so that's your final tree
Yeah,
line?
so where I hatched it in red.
Yep.
Is where we're kind of disturbing trees within the.
Okay, so
within the 50-foot.
that's your
buffer.
removal that you need?
Yes.
Okay. And then within your basin, is it going to be grass lined?
Yes.
Okay.
Grassline basin, each end will have a 6-to-1 gradual slope to allow for vehicles to get in to maintain it. So, there are sediment forebays located at each inlet to handle any future runoff. Again, to provide TSS for removal.
Where did the overflow go?
The overflow would go
Right here, but
here.
does it go
It would go into the wetland.
into the well? Okay.
Yes.
There's plenty.
There's, this is the emergency spillway for any storm in excess of 100 years. This is the outlet structure. We wanted to aim that flow so it too went into the wetland.
So, based on the size of that cut, when I was out there, it appeared to me that whatever was coming off the hillside is now going to be dramatically slowed down compared to how it would move along that existing hillside.
Yes, for let's call it phase 1 of the project. But once this, if this gets fully built out, and 77,000 square feet impervious that we designed for, the time of concentration would speed back up.
Okay, so.
I didn't want to take too much credit for that interim condition.
Yep. So in the long term, essentially, you're going to be balanced to where you were.
Yes.
From the original condition in terms of runoff and.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just,
Go ahead.
you mentioned a 2-year, a 2-year storm? or
2-year storm
A
event.
2-year storm event that this was designed for. And is that assuming the 70,000
Yes.
square feet of
Yes.
impervious?
All my stormwater calculations assumed full development. I looked at the existing condition, I looked at an interim condition where this was all grass, just to see, making sure something weird wasn't happening. And then I looked at the ultimate full, which was what we're calling fully developed.
So 2 years, given what's going on with climate change, 2-year storm doesn't seem all that serious or, to me. So what happens over, say, a 5-year or a 20-year, or whatever the next, I don't know what the increments are, but what happens in those steps?
Yes, so the way this is designed, the 2-year storm would infiltrate, so the outlet structure, which I have detailed here, is a box with a step weir. So the 2-year storm would come up to this elevation in the pond and infiltrate in. Any storm above that would come into the weir, ultimately spill into the outlet structure and out the 12-inch discharge pipe.
So are you saying anything over a 2-year storm will outflow to the wetland?
Well, outflow to the wetland, and after the detention volume is taken into account in the basin, it will be discharged at a rate that's less than existing conditions.
Okay. Because you do have those 2 small wetland areas, and I believe occasionally they meet, there's plenty of room there, I think. And, okay, and then the abutters, how close are they in terms of height? Only in that we had some conversations with them with regard to them taking their property into the wetland, and I'm wondering if we do raise that, are we affecting them? And should we,
The people in the corner, Jack?
yeah, we buy the ugly houses kind of.
I think up to the 100-year storm, we're infiltrating, everything that goes into the wetland will go in at a rate slower than what is naturally there. It'll still go in.
Correct.
But it'll be less, so that the rate, so
It'll
the.
be less flow.
So, yeah, so the volume that they get in the wetlands already the same of what it receives now.
Yeah, I'm just asking, is that, okay, we put a couple homes in there and some driveways, and next thing you know, you're raising the overall level of impermeability. Is that gonna cause additional runoff that would have normally done to your other?
That's why we're putting the basin in. So the basin would, if you take the top off, any of that volume and runoff increase. So whatever leaves the basin and leaves our property is less than existing conditions.
Okay.
It's less than what goes out of it right now.
I trust you.
We never really put more water.
And then what's going in there right now?
We're actually slowing it down.
Okay,
By building that pond with a meter.
Right,
You're
so-
gonna build it up and let it get into the ground before it overflows.
Right, so then the perverse other side of it is, I don't know how those other two wetland areas are fed.
How are we detrimentally affecting the
Affect-
wetlands
right.
from their natural source of water?
Yeah,
So they would most likely intercept from the 2-year storm what's infiltrated out of our basin, so they would still get that volume will be going into the immediate water table within, 5 feet of grade, 10 feet of grade, so that, they would still have that refreshing of water. And the larger storms, the runoff is directed towards.
And that's, and what you're saying is because you're infiltrating in the wetlands downgrading of your pond, it's natural for the groundwater to
reach that level?
still work its way underground towards the wetland.
Yeah, the groundwater will move both.
There's a hydraulic
vertically
connection, you
and
don't have some impermeable
horizontally.
area in that sand.
Right, it's all sand anyway, so it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, again, the discharge was routed, was directed to send runoff for larger storms into that wetland, which will help maintain that condition as well.
Matt, I'm sorry, Matt, one of the things you pointed out in there is that we have two wetlands and they're separated by a section of upland. Do you think it would make sense to, where you have an overflow with your rear going into one wetland, does it make sense to make a kind of a bifurcated system so they each sort of get a connection with that? I don't know if that makes sense or not, if you understand what I'm asking.
Yeah, I do. That was my initial design approach. However, what I found was that I would need to go into the 50 to 30 foot buffer and take down some more trees to get into this
So you didn't see a real benefit?
Wetland that's higher. I thought it would be more of a adverse impact to do that.
I was recalling a statement you made earlier that the soils are a little different than you used to when you get close to the wetland, that it sounds like
They get sandier.
They're sandier, so you get more, it'll go deeper. I'm just wondering if there's a different hydrology, because the assumption here is that what goes into the ground through this structure ends up in the wetland. Everything that was running off before goes into the wetland, but now we're counting on.
Well, it would run off and infiltrate.
It run off and infiltrate, but with that hill, that there was a lot of runoff, which it won't be any runoff now. It'll all be infiltration. And if the infiltration, is there a chance, I don't know, is there a chance the infiltration will actually put it underneath, below the wetland? It won't end up in the wetland.
To speak to that, the elevation of the bottom of my pond is 400 feet, and the 400-foot contour on the other side is above the wetlands, so the wetlands is 499, 98, 97.
So it looks like the 400 is close to
so
the
I'm
30-foot buffer?
I'm 4 to 5 feet, the bottom of my basin is 4 to 5 feet above those wetlands. So as it infiltrates and migrates both vertically and horizontally, kind of the vector would be towards those wetlands.
Yeah.
But the surface vegetation that, I think where you're getting at, is the surface vegetation that may be fed by that runoff.
It's not going to get it now.
It's not necessarily going to receive that. So there would be some impact. To quantify it, I don't know, that'd be difficult, I think.
The discharge of the wetland that's closest to 2A is going away from the project, right? It's going on to the other side.
Correct.
Towards like,
Yeah.
towards Barney's.
Yeah, so going back to the locust map,
Yeah.
that's we buy Aubrey House's site.
Yeah.
This is the blue line connecting here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so 2A, what goes under 2A?
Discharge goes, is this.
Goes from town, yeah, it all flows south and away from the town.
Is there, so, do I understand there's culvert under there that goes,
Yeah, there's a
from
culvert
the...
across.
Yeah, there's a mess. Department of Transportation.
Thank you. It feeds a big swamp.
The mosquito people have maintained
That's
that
correct.
quite a few times.
That's
They go in
what I
there
saw
and
he excavated
dredge it out,
years ago.
yeah. They go and dredge it out.
At the swamp room, yeah.
It's not in our jurisdiction, but I'm curious about the buffer with the neighbor that's, as you're looking at it from the road to the right, this buffer over there.
This buffer?
Yeah, I mean, their house is pretty close to the line.
She's right here, so he let her speak when they let her speak.
Right, so, we're maintaining a 20-foot buffer there. There is that's kind of the top of the hill, and we're proposing plantings along that as well, which will,
Yeah, probably, definitely arborvitae's, stuff like that. Yeah.
And would it still, well, we're pretty
So-
high up there, and then all of a sudden it's gonna take a dip, so now we're gonna be like mountainous, right? I mean, as far as looking at the property?
Yeah,
so
you'll
it's
be
gonna
looking
look-
over it.
Yeah. So it's gonna take a steep, after the 20 feet, it's gonna take a steep drop right in?
Yeah, it's a 3-to-1 slope, which is mowable.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but that's what it'll be, yes.
yeah, so the site was designed so the slopes are no greater than 3-on-1, which I've always had told to me is what you can comfortably drive a lawn tractor on. Anything steeper than that, you don't want to do it. But 3-on-1, you're not going to roll your lawn tractor sideways down the hill.
I thought it
So-
was gonna be a cliff and
Yeah.
down, level with the ground, and it's not gonna be, it's gonna be a dip.
On your plan, I don't see, while I see all the grading you have planned there, what I don't see is your limits of erosion protection and,
Those are on sheet 3,
okay?
3.0. So what I have proposed for erosion control, working from the wetland up,
Yep.
is a double row erosion control barrier, silt fence and straw bales.
Yep.
All the 3-on-1 side slopes are stabilized with erosion control matting. Anything that's flatter than 3-on-1 will be stabilized with, temporarily stabilized with wood chips until grass cover is established. Initially, there'll be a stabilized construction and entrance using the existing driveway. So as the earth is removed, they'll be using the existing driveway. We're securing a permit from MassDOT for a curb cut, and eventually we'll have a gravel access
Okay.
outside of the 100-foot buffer that will access the large flat area.
Other than I assume you need some kind of like earth removal permit or something like that from the Board of Selectmen?
Yes, so, yeah, we're going next week to the Board of Selectmen for earth removal, and then the week after that to Planning Board for a stormwater permit.
And
And
so,
then MassDOT.
and then MassDOT, those are the other permissions needed?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Obviously, it's gonna take a while to get the gravel out of there. You'll maintain the erosion control the entire time you're working on the site. And then obviously, the matting and stuff can't happen until everything's taken out, and you have to stabilize it.
Yeah, I mean, typically, this part always happens first anyhow, like we start creating the pond eventually. But yeah, and then as you work your way in, I mean, ultimately, you try to stabilize it as you go, so you would start down here, stabilize our way as we go, that way type of thing.
But along this edge, that erosion protection will be maintained the entire time.
That's correct, yep.
The trees go up first or at the very end of the project, or how are you gonna work that? The noise and all that other stuff?
Yeah, typically probably do that first, you know, yeah, not exactly, as soon as the season allows it, yeah, sorry.
What's the construction schedule? I mean, when do you plan on, is this gonna be a one-season thing, or is it gonna be multi-year project, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's always looking in a crystal ball, obviously.
Yeah.
I hope I sell 40,000 yards of material in 1 year and we can be done with it, you know, I just can't guarantee that. However, I am working on a big project right now in Fitchburg that is gonna take 90% of that if everything goes well, weather-wise. That's kind of the game plan. So we really hope to be in and out of there.
One season.
A season, you know, maybe a season and a half type of thing. Yep.
And your gravel access will be open graded to try and catch some of the, so you're not tracking it onto the roadways?
That's
and-
correct.
Yeah.
Standard gravel.
Standard, 2 to 4 inch crushed stone, 12 feet wide,
Yep.
8 inch thick track pad.
And it silts up, you just
Scrape it.
scrape it,
Add
and-
more stuff.
yep,
Yep.
okay.
My only question is more procedurally. I think it's great that you designed everything consistent with a 70,000 square foot impervious in the future sometime. So clearly, you know, until that happens, this is golden, right? I mean, there's a lot of safety margin here. Just procedurally, what happens in the future when some development is done and it comes back? Do we get, so to speak, another bite at the apple at the design, the stormwater design, basically? Just in case we've learned something, the wetlands seem to be affected, and, you know, we may not at that time think, or our engineer or some peer review guy may not think it's sufficient. Are we able to, at that point, say, that design's got to be fixed, or have we bought the farm?
Can I answer that? Sure. So, in past meetings, I mean, I was always told, even if I'm 1,000 feet from the wetlands, if I do something up here and it affects the wetlands, then yes, you can come back at me. Just because I'm outside the 100-foot buffer doesn't mean you're done, you know? I mean, anything we do, if it negatively affects the wetland, then yes, you always have that right to come back. But again, what we're trying to do is design this whole thing so that.
Yeah, I think that's great, yeah. And it may not.
To come back again.
It may not be you that comes back with the proposal for the development, so to speak.
That's correct.
Right. So I assume it's sort of a clean slate at that point, right?
On this plan, does it
If I
show?
could just for a second.
Go ahead, Matt.
To answer your question, under DEP policy, because you have a discharge going to the wetland, anything upstream is fair game. So the second, like a subdivision is proposed, and the hardware is hooked up to that D-basin, because it's a point source discharge going to that wetland in our jurisdiction, the whole stormwater scenario then becomes jurisdictional.
Okay. So it'll be revisited at that point?
Absolutely.
Good.
So if stormwater standards change, say, and they become more stringent, it actually could wind up being a negative impact to the development potential. It could reduce the number of lots, say. You just don't know, so.
So, your 77,000 square feet, more or less, of impervious that you have proposed, that's total development, that's all impervious, whether it's building or asphalt or anything?
Correct, that's
Okay.
building, asphalt, sidewalk, everything that we can.
Is that number on the plan?
It's in my calculations, I don't believe I had it on the plan, but.
I think that number should be on the
Yes.
plan, just so we can, for our edification moving forward, if someone comes back, you sell the property and they come back and say, hey, we have 85,000 square foot of impervious, we go, well, this site's only, you're gonna have to make some modifications to your stormwater retention system to accommodate whatever extra impervious you have or something like that.
Yeah, just like a design note on the plan or something.
Yep.
Yes, that is a simple add.
I'm so glad he's on the commission.
So I did have a couple quick questions, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Rich.
I do see that there is an excavation schedule of 4 phases. I guess I'm assuming that prior to Phase 4 and after Phase 3 is when you'll be doing the, constructing the basins on the low side of the property?
Correct, that's a general sequencing.
Yep, okay. So that's one thing we probably just want to make sure that we spell out in our order.
Yeah, that.
Prior to,
Go ahead.
yep, no, just prior to Phase 4, starting. that we have the basins in place and approved. Because that gives a really good picture as far as how the excavation is going to take place, taking off the top of the hill and working down, but leaving a low side depression for your stormwater collection.
Yes.
That definitely helps to visualize it quite a bit. Question 2 I did have, do you have submitted a maintenance schedule or the annual reporting on the stormwater basin?
Yes, that should be in the drainage report.
Okay. I thumbed through it quick, I don't remember seeing it, if we can just make sure we have that. You know, making sure that it stays mowed and the structure's functioning and cleaned out.
Yes, yeah, that generally has those items as well as a reporting schedule and an inspection schedule.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted, like I said, I didn't see it in there, and I just wanted to make sure. And this was a notice of intent. I just hadn't seen anything on DEP as far as comments or a file number yet.
Correct, I have not seen a file number yet as well. It actually wasn't listed on the website yet.
It wasn't even on the database.
Yeah, it wasn't even on the database yet.
I know you sent an email to Judy Schmidt this afternoon,
Yes.
asking where it was, and I know you cited when the package was submitted, so.
December 23rd, and thank you for reminding me of the green cards.
Yep.
But Judy Schmidt is no longer our,
No, but she is an analyst, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's appropriate to ask her questions.
She is who gave me the number a couple of weeks ago for another project
okay.
in this area, so it came from Judy as well as Cyril and several other.
oh, I thought she was no longer our circuit rider, so.
She's not the circuit rider, but she kind of got a promotion.
Oh,
For about 2 weeks.
I was waiting for a title for a vehicle.
Rich, did you have any other comments?
Nope, those are my only 2, thank you. Other than that, it looks like a well thought out plan.
Thank you.
Okay. Comments from other commissioners? So with that, you have our notes, as Rich mentioned, for Phase 4, you'll add a note before that the excavation for the basin will be completed prior to Phase 4. We'll add the note for the square footage of impervious for your runoff calculations. And the mention of, you said you already submitted it, but the maintenance and annual reporting plan for the,
I'll double check that
for the
that's in.
basin to make sure that's in there. So seeing we have no DP number, we'll be able to approve this once that comes in the next meeting. So with your permission, do you want to continue to February
I
5th?
respectfully ask for a continuance to the February 5th meeting.
Fantastic. Someone make that a motion?
so move.
Second.
Motion second. Roll call vote, all in favor. Great. Any other public comment before we take a vote? Are you good?
Old growth trees,
Which one was that?
the ones up by the house and so along the border, some pretty old growth trees.
Yeah, so
we'll have to
clean those out.
His wife's pretty convincing if she wants it.
She wants it, yeah, but she.
Fencing will.
Jim Cushman, veterans out there.
Mr. Proctor, ma'am, if you want to come and so we can get it on the record, you can, all your comments, you can,
That's why I didn't know.
can you come up here and just provide your comments so we can get them on the record for you?
Okay, I'm just concerned about the old growth trees.
And, yep.
There's some.
Could you give your name and address first?
Name and address.
Dale Erskine in 1331 and 1335 Mass Ave.
And,
Just concerned about the old, there were some
Yep.
old trees, old cherries that are kind of half dead sort of, but they're very old growth.
Right.
Huge, but I
Yep.
was wondering what he was thinking about doing.
what's your intent with
Yeah,
those
well,
trees?
most of those that you just pointed out are where we're gonna plant the new trees, so.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, we would take those so that then we could plant the new ones,
Okay, yeah.
you know, which would be a better buffer than some of
Right,
those.
then one of those, yeah.
Dead cherries.
Yeah, they're cherries, they're
Exactly.
yeah.
So- So on the plan, are you gonna, provide a, list of the replanting, what you're gonna do there for?
That would be nice, yeah, if I could see what.
Could you also add a note for the trees that'll be replanted there, the species and density?
And a schedule when they'll go in.
It's gonna be a wind tunnel up there now. I mean, right now we have that whole buffer of everything, and we're gonna be like sitting up on this hill, and it's gonna go, so just.
You're gonna have great sledding though.
I absolutely love your gardens. You must spend a lifetime out
Yeah,
there.
we do, yeah, we live out there, and all my pajamas and garden boots at 7, so. It's serious.
Thank you, ma'am. So with that, we had a motion and a second to continue this meeting till February 5th. Roll call vote, Richard Bursch.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
Katie Childs.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Ken Jones. Jack Rabbit. I vote aye as well. We'll see you guys on the 5th. Thank you.
And obviously, watch the website, if the DEP has any comments, try to address those before the 5th also.
Definitely, thank you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
That cleared out the room.
We'll open our next meeting in continuation pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. Public meeting on a request for determination by Mick Dutton for the trimming and removal of brush at 54 Pine Acres Drive.
As has been stated in the past, this applicant is elderly and does not drive at night.
Yep.
Can't attend the hearings. Matt and I went out sometime last week, and met with her. And I took some pictures, they're on the cloud. She just wants to trim some bushes that are encroaching. They're all on the causeway. They're encroaching on the driveway. Be happy to answer any questions anyone may have. It's definitely smaller than a bread box.
Will it require removal of the brush of bushes or just trimming?
She just wants to cut them back. That's what she said to Matt and I. Yep.
Does she have a contractor that's?
No, this is not, like I said, this is not bigger than bread box.
Is this generally hand pruning?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I might,
Go ahead, Rich.
I did ask Matt to pull out the original application for this project.
Yep.
And a 12-foot driveway was approved. So I would think probably the cleanest and easiest way to do this would be to just issue a determination that she can maintain 6 feet on either side of the center line, pruning brush as needed. To maintain no more than the 12-foot driveway that was originally approved.
I think 6 foot on either side of the driveway puts you in the middle of the lake.
6 foot on either side of the center line, Bob.
Oh, on the
On the center line of the driveway.
Yep, yeah, they were approved for a 12-foot driveway, so in my mind, anything that's needed to maintain that original 12-foot driveway should just be handled under general maintenance, and if we just make a determination that she's allowed to maintain her driveway to the approved 12-foot width.
Sounds good to me.
If that's what she's looking for, that's the easiest, and then we've got it in writing, she's been notified that she can maintain her 12-foot driveway.
And she doesn't have to come back in the future if she's just maintaining that.
I think that's a great idea.
Jack?
Mr. Chairman, just a question in terms of, should we be specifying that the debris being not left on the side or the plants are allowed to get into the lake?
The amount of vegetation we're talking about here is minimal.
Is it?
Yeah, it's...
So, was there even a need for an application?
Technically, probably yes, but I think Richard's idea is a great one. It alleviates this, in the future kind of thing, so...
So what it does is it actually spells out an approved maintenance plan that we have on record. So in case, she sells the property and there's any doubt, we've got it spelled out.
Yeah. What does the record say in terms of debris? I mean, I'm not sure I follow
this,
this, Bob, maybe nothing, but
What does it matter if they leave the debris or they take it away? Are you,
Yes,
you
if-
want them to leave it or you want them to take it away?
I would be interested in making sure it doesn't get into the lake.
It's sticks and leaves, it's not.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if it's a big branch, you know, you gotta toss it down.
There are no big branches involved.
I'd rather have it sit there and decay on the side of the thing and provide habitat for animals for myself, but.
I have no problem.
Okay, I wasn't following for a
So,
second.
is someone going to make a motion to?
Aren't you asking if there any public comment?
No.
Boy, can we clear a room or what?
So why don't we make that a motion that will provide a negative determination that will allow the applicant to maintain the 12-foot driveway
In perpetuity.
in perpetuity.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, roll call vote, Richard Birsch.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
Katie Childs.
Aye.
Ken Jones.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit. I vote aye as well. All right. Next meeting, it's a continuation, Matt, the culverts at Sunset Lane and Northfield Road, are we going to continue that?
Yeah, I have to just let you guys know. I have been working with Jack Roddiquins and Heather to the original company that did the original design. They've worked out some type of a scenario with them based on the fact that the original engineer that was working in that project just left and left the whole thing, kind of abandoned it. So the president and chief engineer of the company contacted me yesterday. Myself, he, and Jack Roddiquins are having a phone conference tomorrow
Okay.
to talk about the DEP comments and what they're going to do for the adjusting the plans or whatever to make sure that they're properly addressed.
Okay. Did Mr. Roddiquins indicate whether he thought a February 5th or February 19th continuation?
I'd rather go to the 19th.
The 19th.
Because
Okay.
I want to make sure that we thoroughly address those comments. I don't want it rushed.
Agree.
So we have to open this, do we have to open it?
Yeah, I'm going to open it. So, next hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Section 239 of Lunenburg General Bylaw, Wetland Bylaw, DPW has filed a notice of intent for the replacement of culverts at Sunset Lane and Northfield Road. Per the preceding discussion, I will accept a motion to continue this hearing until February 19th,
And make sure you state the location is here.
here at Town Hall.
So moved.
Second.
I just have, I have a
Discussion.
question, a discussion point. I understand, what I thought I heard was they're gonna address the DEP comments. But we also had comments, and I don't know if they're the same, because I haven't read the DEPs, but we
Well,
will...
let me clarify that. All comments will be addressed, but the DEP specifically had some comments that actually we focused on, and they're pretty much identical. But yeah, all comments will be addressed.
So they're gonna look at the calculations of the two...
Yes, that was part of the DEP comment. No. Good point. Thank you for
Very good.
asking.
All right, roll call vote, Richard Birsch.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit. Ken Jones.
Aye.
Katie Childs.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
I vote aye as well.
Just a random.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection Municipal Bylaws, a public meeting on a notice of intent by Nancy Bell for replacement of an existing retaining wall at 51 Fire Road 19. Matt, I'm assuming we're going to continue this?
I just would want to continue it to the March 5th meeting.
Very well. Bob, you had a comment?
What are we waiting for on this? And why haven't we got it?
We're still waiting on amended plans, from my understanding.
I mean, I'm inclined to deny the darn thing. How long has this been hanging out?
I think since last winter.
Honestly, I mean,
What's the March meeting at the 5th?
it'll be the 5th.
So maybe we can get some clarification in the interim, that if we can't get some response from that, maybe we consider it a non-responsive application and close it at the next hearing.
We could give it a leave to withdraw. instead of denying it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the denial would require her to submit a different plan, meaning she couldn't submit the same scope of work.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, you'd actually...
I have trouble with this, it's been going on a long time.
Sure.
And I think it's time we set some parameters on it that it finishes. And we can save the space on our agendas.
So do you want to make that a motion now, or do we want to continue to the March 5th and let the applicant know that if she doesn't respond, that's what's going to happen? Any feeling from that, from the other members? I'm inclined to give her one more continuation, and so we can warn her that it's going to happen.
I agree.
Sure.
Okay?
No harm.
Okay. Then I'll accept a motion to continue this hearing until March 5th.
I'd make that a motion. I don't know where that meeting is. Is that going to be at Ritter Building?
It'll be at the Ritter Building.
So yes.
All right, motion and a second, roll call vote, Richard Burke.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit. Aye. Ken Jones.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Bob Pease. Aye. Katie Childs.
Aye.
I vote aye as well.
And are you going to communicate that to her, Matt?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we have two other items under enforcement. Emerald Place Beach, we'll get an update this coming spring, so we can move on from that. And then Town of Lunenburg Fire Road 12. Can you provide some updates for us, Matt?
Yeah, actually I can. Based on the investigation of the police chief, we know who actually commenced the illegal paving and the company. At this point, I'm not sure exactly what to do. My suggestion, based on conversations with some of you and conversations based on Heather, is, I know Bob and I have discussed access from Stump Cove for kayaks and canoes, because it is canoeable, even though it's kind of weedy. It's not suitable for motorboats, but it's suitable for regular boats, that we essentially close off the parking lot to private use, keep it a public parking lot, and use it as an access point.
So make lemonade out of lemons.
Essentially.
My question about that would be, if you drive by there, it says, this is a private road, residents only. And so even though it's town land, you can't get to it without going over the private road.
Because that is a...
It's a Fire Road 12, right?
It's town land, but it's not, the access to that land is not over town property, right?
However, we are a property owner on the line, so that technically makes the town a resident.
Well, that's a good point.
I guess, to me, that would, if I lived on the fire road and I said, all right, well, you're gonna start using that, does that open the town up to maintenance issues on the roadway? That would be my only question. I think it's a great idea that we do that, but I just wanna make sure that, that discussion is had with people above our pay grade.
Right, we probably should examine that. My take on it is that we'd only be responsible for maintenance of the parking area, and we could take preventative measures to keep them from using it when they think we've gone away, which we're not going away. I've already talked to DPW and Rec Department is willing to pitch in efforts.
Yeah.
Like if we put up a gate that would be open and shut during dawn and dusk, Jack would be willing to work with his department and Rec to go up and open it and close the gate.
I'm trying to picture what's there. I can't picture putting a gate. I mean, it's just a 10-foot strip of pavement along the road, right? I mean...
Well, I spoke to Heather about it too, and we could put different types of signage up, or maybe some type of a barrier that would prevent...
Or you could put posts and put chains between them.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to pursue, but I think there's a lot of, loose ends to run to ground, and, including, is it really ever going to be used? I mean, you can't launch something there. You're going to launch over...
No, I think you could launch something there.
Not without doing some work along the bank and so forth. So.
I think access there is better than the town access.
Yeah, it may be with work, but that's what I'm saying. It isn't
Right.
just, okay, let's declare it a parking lot for the access and move on. There's a lot of work and money, and people got to do a lot
Right, well, I
of
mean, I
things.
have a session coming up with town council next week. It's next week, right, Bob?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna talk to him about the particulars involved, to see what he says. The thing is, my concern is that trying to rip that thing out could cause more damage than it prevents. Seeing
Yeah.
as we have an access there now.
You know, personally, I'd like to see him, my first inclination is to have him take it out and then restore it with wetland plants and maybe put in some bollards or something like that, or boulders or something like that to prevent parking in the future along that edge.
Yeah.
I'd prefer that. I could get behind if the group was behind, trying to convert that to an access, but for me, I'd rather restore it.
I absolutely agree with you, because I think it's a lot more realistic. I think, you know, as interesting an idea as the other is, I think it's just so fraught that it'll never happen, and we'll end up with neither fish nor fowl. I would rather go in the direction you're saying, is let's just address it and deal with it. If that's a good idea, it'll still be a good idea, and it can be done in the future to access town, but near term, we could take some action, close the issue, and, you know, and move on. Otherwise, this is...
May I suggest that we just simply continue the issue right now, and I can talk to town council about implementing both scenarios and what's involved?
I agree.
Right. Good. Mr. Chairman, that would be the
If I might
mediation,
add,
wouldn't it? I'm sorry.
Hold on. Go ahead, Rich. Then Jack.
I do agree with both Todd and Carl as far as I think we should just remove it, remediate it, and call it a day. I think at this point, we should probably come up with a rough direction on what we want to see done with the violation. And then where the land is not under the care and control of the Conservation Commission, it would have to go to the Board of Selectmen for their input if they want to further pursue the parking lot and the access. And I think that's more of what Heather was looking for, was what we want to see done with the violation. So I think we can, I would offer that we decide what we want to have done with the violation, put forth some of the ideas to Heather and the Board of Selectmen if they so choose, but I don't know if we should be the ones directing what to do with the parking lot or making the access to the water or any of that, because it's not our land, or it's not under our control.
But I still would like to speak to town council before we finalize these details over the procedures and the legalities involved, because of the fact that it is Board of Selectmen land.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that would have an effect on the remediation that the commission requires for the violation. Matt?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should just give Heather our direction on what we want to have done for the violation, and if they want other plans to utilize the parking lot, then they'd have to file an application for that. But I would let them do that decision-making process.
Rich, I think that's a good point. Jack had a comment, and then Bob.
Okay. I was just going to address the question of remediation. You know, we're going to need some sort of a formal report from the police if we're going to be bringing somebody in to look for the remediation. And
we have
a formal report from the
police
police
report?
department.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, they have stated that they did the work.
Okay, and then the question would be, what is the remediation cost? And is there a possibility that we might be able to not, save something and do something with what was done? I just think before we just come back and say, do it and restore it, and Matt's point was, well, maybe we're gonna do more damage than we had. I would just think let's take a look at the site and let's look at what we could do with it. And
I think Matt's idea to wait till we can get more direction from town council. I think the feeling I'm getting from other members that they'd like some additional information before they make up their minds on a determination for remediation of the violation. Good. Bob?
I think we should remediate it. I think we should wait, until after Matt's had his talk, but I think we should just, have it remediated. If you take a look on the assessor's website, it says Town of Lunenburg, but it also says owner unknown.
That's owner number 2.
Yes, it also says owner unknown. It's defaults to the Town of Lunenburg because they don't really know who the owner is. The title isn't clear. I also have an appointment to meet with the town attorney this next time, which I'm gonna talk about a little later, but that was one of the things I was gonna ask him about, was the owner unknown. About the status of this property. At the last meeting, or maybe it was 2 meetings ago, I talked about the possibility of, applying for a recreational trails grant to put in, a kayak dock over there. But I said there are lots of, you'd have to talk to Jack, you'd have to talk to Heather, you have to talk to the Board of Selectmen, so on and so forth. And in my view, if we were gonna do that, you'd wanna put a parking lot on, on the wooded side, that directly is accessed off a reservoir, not off of Fire Road 12, so we don't get into that whole imbroglio. But I don't see any harm in waiting 2 weeks, to see, what the town council has to say to Matt.
All right. You want a motion to continue?
Yes, please.
Could we make a motion to continue to the next meeting, the February 5th meeting?
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
And you had another comment, Rich?
I thought, Matt, you had pulled up the deed for this property,
I did.
and it was given to the town of Lunenburg by the Lake Shirley Improvement Corp. to clean up the deeds when the dam was taken by the town and rebuilt.
That's correct. I believe I emailed you the PDF on those.
I hadn't seen that. All I knew is what it said in the assessor's website, so.
Yeah, I went and I did chain search, and that's what it appeared to be. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to the council about, was to go over the deeds on the property and the ownership issues.
Okay. And the other question I had was, I heard someone refer to the town access to the lake. Is there a separate town access to the lake? I thought the town didn't have any access to the lake.
No, we have an access.
Stump Cove.
Yeah.
Isn't this Stump Cove? Or
No,
this
it's
is
not. There's an access off the reservoir.
Sorry, the call got disconnected.
It's, if you stood on this parking spot and looked across, you'd see it at Reservoir Road. It's on Reservoir
That
Road.
cancels the mic.
Right near the next fire road.
Where's Stump Cove?
Right here.
Right,
Off of Round Road.
Right here.
Like Ruth Street, yeah.
right.
So the access is like right here.
So it's over
Call
here?
from Rich.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alexa, answer the call.
So it's basically on the same piece of property.
Yeah.
Right.
Just more or less.
Off the road.
But on Reservoir Road.
It's off, the access is off of Reservoir Road.
It is or it isn't off of Reservoir?
It's off.
It's right on Reservoir.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Essentially, you have enough parking on the shoulder for maybe 2 vehicles.
Exactly.
And you can walk down through a path that's been cleared through the cattails to
Yeah.
get your kayak.
Long.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
It's not surprising if you've missed it, because it's,
Looks like a beaver.
right.
Yeah, but I was thinking if we could put a parking lot here, and not we, because it's not conservation land, this would be something between me and the selectmen.
Right.
And I'd be asking them to come up with the 10% match, because this is not our, it's really a Parks and Rec thing or a Board of Selectmen thing.
Well, I mean, my personal feeling on that, Bob, is it would be fantastic, because there really is no meaningful access for people to safely park and use, small craft.
Yeah, I'm happy to do the paperwork for the grant, not this year, the deadline's in like 2 weeks, but next year. But I would need buy-in from, from Jack and from the Board of Selectmen. And they'd have to kick in the 10% or 20%, whatever the match is. Okay. So, thank you.
So we have a motion and second. Let's do a roll call vote. Richard Bursch?
Aye.
Jack Rabbit? Aye. Ken Jones?
Aye.
Carl Luck?
Aye.
Katie Childs?
Aye.
Bob Pease?
I vote aye, but I don't think the thing is necessary.
I vote aye as well. All right, Moving on to new business, sidewalk for Gilcrest Street property for trail access.
Well, Richard, I asked to have this on the agenda. Richard reached out, or said he was going to reach out to Kevin Hill, because they haven't put the trail in yet. And they're, they've knocked over trees, and they got fill all over the place and everything. And I'm just suggesting that when and he said he was gonna schedule a site walk with Kevin, and I'm just asking that when such a site walk is scheduled, in the springtime, that, all the members be invited. So that's all that's about it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. Unfortunately, I was not able to meet Kevin Hill out on site prior to leaving.
I had occasion to talk to Kevin, I ran into him at the pizza place and we talked about it. And it's on his radar, he knows he has to do it, and he's willing to put the work in to make sure it's a good access. He said he's got some of the stump grindings and stuff that they had that he's willing to put down on the trail and, so he knows that it needs to get done. So it's just a matter of, I think, us getting with him and when everybody's around and doing it.
Any updates on Gary Goldrup's proposed draft stewardship plan for the bird habitat?
He was supposed to be here tonight, so I don't know where he is. However, the draft bird habitat plans, the new ones on the lots we submitted, are on the cloud.
Okay.
So if you guys want to review them, I'll reschedule them for the next meeting on February 5th.
Okay.
Where do I look on the cloud for those?
The meeting folder, tonight's meeting folder.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Bob, I've also put them under forest management research.
Okay, thank you.
And I will transfer my copies to the February 5th meeting folder. So if you don't see it in the January meeting folder, look for it for the next meeting folder.
Okay.
But I may not do that until next week. So for now, they'll be in
The only one,
tonight's meeting folder.
sorry.
Go ahead,
The
Rich.
only one he's not submitted so far is for the update to the Cowdrey forestry plan. We were going to have that include the bird assessment. He did have some questions on what and where we were looking to have it done, and where it was such a visual piece of property, he just wanted to make sure he just didn't put the planned maintenance for the bird habitats in visual spots. So, in talking to him, the way we've been progressing, I don't picture this being one of the first projects we do. Hopefully we'll have a few under our belt and be able to show some positive management of other areas before we get into this one, but he will have that one to us within the next week or two.
Yeah, what I see on the cloud is Pleasant Street, Chase Road, and Howard Street. Is that what's there?
I believe that's what's there. Yeah, we were gonna have 4 done. The 4th one is Cowdrey,
Okay,
which he's still working on the update for that. And the 5th one was the Saliba property, but not until after we've purchased it. So those were the 5 we had sent in grants for.
Rich, while we're talking about
So
it, do you have any updates on the Hollis Road cutting plan or anything, or what are we doing with that? Or
I don't have anything at the moment, no.
Right. So nothing for this season?
Nope. No, but that's also, it's not in the endangered or the rare species habitat zone, so it can be done at any time.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So it's not like over at Small Town or Rob's Hill where they could only be done with frozen ground.
All right.
Okay, next item under new business, approval of funds for...
I want to, sorry Todd, just as I'm reading my notes, the Chase Road property, he does have an update, and I just got the email on that this afternoon. I will put that up on the cloud too. He forgot the access portion, the property that we were given a few years ago that will provide us access to that whole Chase Road property.
Yeah, you want to put that in the forestry one. I already put the updated one on the meeting folder.
Yep.
Okay. So tax bill inserts, approval of funds for the inserts.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in our excitement, my excitement of getting that zoomed through to get in the tax bills, forgot all about that it does cost money.
Yeah.
I am amazed, though, how little it costs. It's like 9 cents a copy. I can't even make copies at home for that. So conservatively, Mylene estimated based on the last tax bill and the quote she got, something like $440 roughly. I'd suggest we approve a not to exceed of like $500, just in case there's more tax bills or there's something, it doesn't get hung up. So I'd like to request or propose that we...
Using what funds?
Well, that's
way to go, treasurer.
I should have enough in my existing budget to transfer stuff over and make it happen.
great.
Okay.
So I'd like to propose we authorize a not to exceed of $500 for the, to get the trifold into the next tax bill.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Richard Bursch.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
Katie Childs.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Ken Jones.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
I vote aye as well.
I would note that the existing brochure has some errors in it, and hope we can get them corrected. It's got the 50-foot and the 30-foot identification is swapped.
Oh, okay.
In 2 places. So, before we publish it and send out, a bunch of copies, make sure it's correct.
Finally, under new business, open space parcels discussion.
Sorry.
Oh, that was me.
Yep.
So, if you look at the open space map, there's some parcels around town. There's a little teeny parcel up here, in this northwest town forest.
Off of Howard Street, is that where you are?
Yeah, this is north of Howard Street.
Yep.
It's not under the care and control of the Conservation Commission, but it's surrounded by conservation land.
Is it town property?
Yeah. Yeah, these are all town properties. And over here in the small town forest, there's this little parcel right here that's totally surrounded by the small town forest. It's town property. It's not under the care and control of the Conservation Commission. And I think there's another one somewhere. And so I was gonna, I just want to let the commission know I'm gonna have a meeting with the town council, and I'm gonna ask them, what would be involved, to transfer those into the care and control of the Conservation Commission. How would we go about it? What would we have to do? Yada, yada. And so.
I think that's a great idea. I think, sort of more globally, I think, do we want to look at, if we're going to do that, there are some other properties around town that probably ought to fall under the care and control of conservation that aren't. But specifically, Fairview Road.
Can you point out Fairview Road on here?
I hate this map. Where's the center of town? I can't, I'd have to look at it. The Woodruff lot.
Woodruff, yeah.
I can't the details on this thing.
Is it green?
What's town property, Bob?
The green.
Green?
It's a big chunk. Oh wait, here we go. Sort of see the street names, Holman Street. I'd have to look at the map, but it's the Woodruff property off Fairview Road and Leominster Road. It is under, I think, did we buy that land? Rich, did we buy that land they were talking about for a school or something?
Yeah, unfortunately, it went to town meeting and the funding wasn't set up because it was I believe it was a Chapter 61 withdrawal, so it only had 120 days.
Yeah.
So it ended up at town meeting that the selectmen put forth the town monies to purchase it.
But
So
that's-
it was
that's a big-
purchased under the care and control of the Board of Selectmen.
It's a pretty big chunk
So
of
it
land.
was
there.
always supposed to be under the care and control of conservation, it just, once it got purchased, it never went any further than that.
Yeah, that would be it. Specifically, that was the one I was thinking of, but there may be other big properties that,
And so, Ken, if you have properties of mine, appreciate if you could just shoot me an email.
I'll do that tomorrow.
So, so long as it's okay with everybody, I'm always gonna talk about that on behalf of the commission to the town council. And the other thing is, there's this property that would give us access off of north of Howard Street. And I'm suggesting, that we reach out to the owner of that
Which one is it? We've already done that.
to the owner and say, would they be interested in donating? We did do that?
I think Richards is in the process of doing that, aren't you?
Well, there was the one that is to the east of the 8-acre property that, has frontage.
It's Recon.
That I sent a letter to. She was the one that had put forth removal from 61A and then rescinded her request for removal because it didn't pass perk.
No,
Yeah, that's a
And
different
there's
one.
also one other square, and then there's a square just north of that Howard Street property that would connect.
Yeah.
Right, that's the one I'm talking about.
east. So that one I've been working with Mylene, that is in tax taking.
Yeah, we've been working on that for years.
So that-
I understand we were working on it in tax taking, but have we ever reached out to the owner? I mean, if the owner's not paying their taxes,
I don't think there is an owner. It was in probate or something, and I don't
So-
think there's any hair to the.
So I have, with Brandon, been working on that, Bob.
you have, okay.
The land was actually owned by, one of the Sozik daughters from like 3 generations ago. So I have tried with, a Sozik that I know, trying to get in touch with them and have had very little success. Brandon Kibbe had some more information, was gonna work at it from his end, so we're slowly trying to find the communications with the current owners, as well as Mylene going through the tax taking process.
Because, now that we have, or we will have that new acquisition there, the Saliba property, I mean, the connectivity, if we could get that piece, the connectivity, I mean, you'd be able to go, stay on conservation land out from the, way down from the center, toward the center of town, all the way up to Pearl Hill, so, and always be on either, conservation land or state land.
Yep.
Well,
Gary did do some research on that property as well. I know that we, at least verbally, have been given the assurances that we will have access off of the new road at Arrow Farms going in, the O'Brien property. So he has stated that there will be access at the end of his road. And I believe there's also another project that is in the proposal stage off of New West Townsend that may give us access as well, so.
and that's all.
Piece of property that we have lots of possibilities, but nothing's coming to fruition yet.
But what I'm interested in is continuous trails. Trails that
Yep.
are on conservation land, that go from one conservation land to the next, to the next, to the next kind of thing, and, I applaud you
Yes,
for
yeah,
your,
because the Salibas comes right out kitty corner there.
yeah, because I was not aware that you'd already been, working on that. I knew we'd been after, through the tax taking angle, but that takes a lot of time, and all I gotta do is pay a little bit of taxes, and all of a sudden it's off the table, and you gotta start again, and, as opposed to if you reach out to the owner, maybe they just as soon be rid of the headache, so.
Yep, no, we are trying.
All right, thank you.
Several different avenues.
Thank you.
All right, old business,
Bob, where did you
go ahead, Rich.
find the deed for that 270 rear Howard Street property? That little sliver along the Townsend border?
I didn't find the deed. It shows up on, it shows up on Brandon's open space map.
Yep.
As belonging to, the town, but not being under the care and control of the Conservation Commission. And it shows up, I just downloaded today the entire assessor's database, and And I'm gonna look for it in there. So,
I was just, like, I couldn't find a deed on Registry of Deeds.
I haven't looked, but I'm pretty fast with the registry of deeds. I will also look.
Alrighty, thank you, Bob.
Good. Under old
That is
business, any update on trails grants? Status of contracts?
Nope.
Good.
One second on that. Bob, you had mentioned that for the gates, you would need certification for the steel.
Yep.
Is it North American, or, because he said his supplier, I did talk to him.
Oh, you did?
His supplier is, most of the steel they get is from Canada. Is that, does it? Or
I don't know if that counts or not.
Okay, so maybe we can get clarification on that.
I think it has to be Buy American. I mean, if you build bridges, you must know about that.
I don't buy the steel, the contract.
You don't buy the steel, okay.
But he said he'd have to go through a supplier, but he could get, he would get certification.
Super.
That we needed. So I did talk to him, and he said, lead time is not a terrible amount of time, but to give him some advance warning.
All right.
Good. Any updates on the Saliba property?
I don't have any. I don't know if Rich does.
I have not heard anything, no.
So, next items, 113 Youngs Road Certificate of Compliance.
That's gonna be continued. We need an adjustment on the, as-built.
Okay. Minutes from the December 18th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
I move we approve.
We have a motion to approve, a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, Richard Birch.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Ken Jones.
Aye.
Carla.
Aye.
Kitty Childs.
Aye.
Bob Pease.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Committee reports, any updates? Stormwater, Jack, anything?
Meeting tomorrow night.
Okay.
Should be tight, yeah, I know, sorry, Carl.
Yeah, thank you.
Open trails, winter trails. Jane and I did walk the trail today, very nice, very pleasant. Ticks aren't out yet that we could see, and none of them jumped us anyway. And Hickory Hills, the water's coming down again, same with you, Carl, on the other end of your lake.
Stable, they're holding
Yeah.
up pretty stable, fortunately.
We're doing well there, and they have the Lake Management Group for Hickory Hills has hired an outside contracting firm, a consulting firm, excuse me. They've come back and looked at Little Hickory, and presented a report. The LMG meeting Monday night, the 20th, is going to go through the whole report with the contractor. And there's a meeting on the 25th at the high school. Do you know anything about that one?
It's a presentation from the Finance Committee.
Okay. That's about it then.
That's all I know.
Okay. Find out more, we'll tell you.
Any other updates? Seeing none, we'll go to the agent's report. Matt, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, I mean, Jack's already done the, any Hickory Hills general updates, so I don't need to get into that. Most of the stuff's been quiet because of the holidays. The only thing that we have is that, Lake Shirley drawdown ceased around, like, between 30 and 32 inches from the looks of what I see out there. I'm actually meeting with my counterpart from the Shirley Concom sometime next week.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be coming to the office. He was supposed to come this week, but he got tied up on another matter, to discuss Shirley's order of conditions and the fact that Shirley Concom wants LSIC to amend their order to allow for extended drawdowns to December 31st, depending on certain circumstances. So he and I are going to have a discussion about that. Plus, he wants to look at our permitting software. Which, by the way, our permitting software is online. We're going to be doing some adjustments to it. I've been discussing it with Rich, and Rich has been discussing it with Adam, but right now, we have a decent version online.
For our information, has the town of Shirley approved their LSIC's order of conditions?
The order of conditions is approved, but they didn't approve the extension for the December 31st date. So technically, there's a violation. I'm discussing that with Rich to determine how we're gonna handle that with the town. But in the meantime, as far as moving forward goes, that's why the Shirley agent and I are having a face-to-face meeting. So.
Good. Question?
Hey, Matt.
Go ahead, Rich.
Did you ever get the approved copy of the order conditions from Shirley?
He hasn't sent it to me yet, no.
Yeah.
Paul? So, does this mean now that when people apply for an NOI, they're gonna go through our e-permitting process?
Yes.
That's what it's supposed to be, yes.
And so...
The way it's supposed to work is so when everybody applies to us, they apply 2 applications. One to the Mass DEP and one submitted to the Lunenburg Conservation Commission under the Lunenburg Wetlands Protection Bylaw. So it is the application that is filed under the Lunenburg Wetlands Protection Bylaw that will be the e-permit application. They still have to file their formal, whatever, WPA form with DEP.
So, if I'm an applicant, when I was working to file an application, it was invisible to me that I was filing 2 applications. You know, it's like I filed 1 application and Matt sent it to 2 places. What does this mean for applicants now? Does this mean that they have to do twice as much work? They have to file it electronically through some portal for the Lunenburg, and then they have to also take the paper thing and fill it out and mail it in to Matt? What does this mean for applicants?
Yeah, so they can start their filing online at the Lunenburg e-permit, put in all their information. There is a link on there to print out the state's paper application. So all of the information is basically duplicated. In any filing prior to this, you schedule out the fees separately. So you are writing 2 checks, one to Mass DEP and one to the town of Lunenburg.
That's true, but I submitted 1 form. There was no danger that the data was getting entered in 2 places and maybe it wasn't parallel. This is the first.
So unfortunately, you'll have to type in the information for Lunenburg and you'll have to handwrite the information for DEP.
This is new information for me.
I didn't understand that either.
I'm not a happy camper.
So it's making things more difficult.
Unfortunately, we don't have access to a state electronic application process, so.
I mean, people can actually file state notices of intents and RDAs through the EDEP process too. They could file one with us and file one with DEP at the same time. A lot of people just don't use EDEP, they file by paper.
So, I guess my thought is, we're assessing a fee for electronic filing, correct? So, we're getting an extra fee, so they're getting hit with an extra fee and extra work. I guess.
I mean, basically, I would say take a look at the application process first.
Okay.
It's name, address, booking page, it's all the information you have to put on the paper form anyways. So there's no additional research, there's maybe 15 questions that you do online. Download your PDFs and away you go.
Well, I'd love to see some kind of flow sheet that we're giving applicants that guides them through the process. I mean, here, I'm on the commission, I had no idea we were doubling, that this was gonna make it more, I would love to see some kind of flow sheet, like, what happens to you, like, if you're gonna apply for a RDA or a NOI, and what do you have to do for a second, third, and fourth, with the e-permitting process, because I don't like the idea. I'm not happy about the fact that, I thought they would just file through the e-permitting, shame on me for not knowing, but, I thought they'd just file through e-permitting and that would be the end of it, and they'd update their PDF form and the PDF would be the, you know, the application that they filed, you know, that they send to the state, and that'd be the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there really isn't any other way to do it, Bob. I mean, they are filing both a local and a state permit. And unfortunately, the two systems do not combine.
Well, I think we need to take a closer look at it.
What about they file one application as they have in the past, and then that application is entered into the system by our agent? Since we're assessing a fee, an electronic fee in the first place.
Well, I mean, honestly, all you have to do is submit the exact same paperwork that you've always done. And I'll issue the exact same paperwork I always have. The only thing you're doing is you're going online, filling out the information that you submitted me on paper, and then paying your local fees through the electronic system instead of giving me a check.
And so again,
What it does is it itemizes every filing that comes in, plus any inspectional notes I need to put, like for enforcement, I could put to that exact file, and it would be viewable by every member of the commission.
And that's wonderful, but I'd love to see a description of that we can give people so that they know what they have to do. And so that the commission understands what they have to do, because right now I don't understand what they have to do.
You're looking for a flow chart? Yeah.
And I'm also looking to make it very understandable, you know, so people don't have to, you know, like, so it's clear expectations. This is what you gotta do to apply.
Sure. Okay. Anything else, Matt?
Nope, that's it for me.
Any other comments from commissioners?
How are we making out with the ATV signs? Because this would be a good time of year to get them up.
Okay, I'll have to check on the status on those. I've been busy with other stuff, I haven't really had a chance to work on it.
Good. Any other questions, comments from commissioners?
So is such a description of the application process something you can do, Matt? or-
Yeah, that's something I'm gonna have to work on.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no other comments from commissioners, then I will accept a motion to adjourn until February 5th at the Ritter Memorial Land Use Building at 960 Mass Ave at 7 PM.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Roll call vote, Richard Birch.
Aye.
Jack Abbott. Bob Pease.
Aye.
Ken Jones.
Aye.
Katie Childs. Carl Luck. I vote aye as well.